The best way to describe the Acura TLX A-Spec is to say there are a lot of features for the money. There is available all-wheel drive that enhances the TLX handling, and you will receive great sound quality from the optional ELS audio system. This is Acura's mid-size luxury sedan, and I'll tell you what, out of all the vehicles I have reviewed over the years here on the Vehicle Visionary YouTube channel, this has some of the most interesting features I have ever seen. And today I'm going to show you exactly what those are. And you might wonder, why a 2021 instead of a 2022? There are absolutely no changes between the two model years, as this TLX was actually fully redesigned for the 2021 model year, so you likely would know there doesn't need to be any changes for 2022. Let's dive in and see what we have. And if you're wondering what exactly comes with the A-Spec package, you'll find sport seats with black ultra suede trim, piano black spoiler on the rear that is very nice looking, by the way. It just fits the rear of the car perfectly. There is a flat bottom sport steering wheel and LED fog lights. Looking here at the front end of the TLX, you're going to notice the front grille. Just the way it's designed, it almost looks like it's blowing in the wind, kind of going with the motion of the car as you're going down the road. But you can't help but notice this plate right here. And you might wonder, what in the world is that for? It's actually not cheap plastic. That's actually a pretty thick piece right there. But there is a specific reason for it and a reason for its size. It has to do with the radar that is used for the safety features, the driving aids basically. And it's actually not right here behind the Acura logo. It's pretty far into the vehicle, and this plate is actually used, number one, to amplify the signal to that radar system. And number two, the reason why that radar system is so far back into the vehicle is in case of a front end impact, well, it won't cost nearly as much to fix, maybe a few $100s or so, compared to thousands if that radar was mounted in a more conventional position here on the front end, right on the other side of the grille, or something along those lines. So next time you see one of these plates, you're going to know exactly why it's there and what it's for. And here under the hood is the 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. It makes 272 horsepower and 280 foot-pounds of torque. All-wheel drive is available, and your MPGs come in at 21 miles per gallon city, 29 out on the highway. Now there is the Type S. If you wanted to step up in horsepower, it makes 350 horsepower. And I'll tell you what, it'd be great to get my hands on one of those and see what the comparison is, but we're just getting started on some of the interesting features that this model has. One of the more interesting things that I don't think I've ever seen on another vehicle before, you'll notice that the front tires are turned basically to full lock. So I've turned them all the way to the left. Well, what's interesting is the fact that typically when you do that, the steering wheel is cocked to one side. But as you can see on the interior with the B-roll footage, it's actually perfectly centered even with those tires turned all the way one direction or the other. And I mentioned earlier that part of the A-Spec package is this very nice rear spoiler. It fits the rear of the vehicle perfectly. It's not too big, it's not too small, it seems to be proportioned just right. But once you're finished looking at that, if you're going to gain access to your 13.5 cubic feet of cargo capacity, well, you might find yourself kind of getting frustrated trying to figure out where is the button. You can see that the rear camera is right here, right under the Acura logo, but that's not where the button is. It's not under the bumper here, above where the license plate would be. It's actually right here on the right side rear tail light. You push that and, well, the trunk opens and you can get to your cargo space back there. And maybe down the road, somebody is selling you a Type S Acura TLX, 2021, 2022, 2023, whatever it might be. But you're strangely suspicious that there's something that's just not right. And you're saying to yourself, I don't think this is really a Type S or a true Type S. It looks like it on the exterior, but here is the giveaway. If you're wondering if it's the real deal or not, open the trunk right here. I showed you how to do that, so now you know. And look inside. But just on the inside of those rear seats, inside of the trunk, would be chassis bracing that you would see. And that is only on the Type S. Now there isn't really a whole lot to tell you about here in the back seat. You do have the fold down armrest with cup holders built in, a little bit of storage behind those, and a couple of air conditioning vents. There's no USB ports. There are some reading lights, and you've got speakers up here. But one thing that I thought was really interesting, if you are going to be the middle seat passenger in the back seat, well, you better not be 5'10" because, well, as you can see, my head's kind of against everything. And as we hop in, I want you to get the full experience of the sounds that you get when you get into the vehicle. So one thing that you might notice here, this is not a touch screen. That's because everything is controlled right down here with the touch screen. You've got your shifter up here, a little bit of a different push button style shifter compared to what we've normally seen in the past. And here is your mode selector. So when you click that around, I'll let you hear what that sounds like. And also, if you're stepping out of a Mercedes-Benz, maybe that's a 2020 model or older, you have basically a trackpad here, so kind of a similar system. And again, hopefully you can hear those sounds. And the thing about it is that each side, there's two different sides to the trackpad here. So you've got this to maintain the left and this one to maintain the right. So as you can see and hear, everything is there. Of course, you've got your backup camera and all that good stuff. It's really not that hard to use once you get used to everything here. As far as the push button shifter, you've got your climate controls here and everything for the AC. And just a quick look down here, here's your wireless charging pad. And here's an interesting thing. Let's see if I can get it to work. There we go. It's a bit slow if you don't push it, but it is basically a dampened lid for the center console. There is your space down there. And one thing before we head out on the road for our test drive, when you turn everything off in the interior, well, there's one last little bit of excitement, if you want to call it that. So it basically has an animated version of the TLX turning around, driving away, signifying that, well, you basically turn the ignition off. All right, out here on the test drive and just kind of cruising along here a little bit, just enjoying the driving experience. The steering is nice and tight. I like the feel of the steering wheel, but I also like the acceleration. So let me slow down just a little bit. That sounds really good. That's surprising. I like that. For a 4-cylinder engine, 272 horsepower, I think that's pretty impressive. I'm going to try launching from a standing stop later on in the test drive, but I just wanted to mainly just kind of drive around and see what this model would do. I'll tell you what, more horsepower would be more fun, but you can have a lot of fun just as this is. A very easy car to drive, pretty easy to see out of. Okay, here we go with a true acceleration test. It really gets up and runs pretty well. So let's accelerate into the corner here. Trying the shifter paddles out, seem to be pretty responsive to the touch of my hand as far as when I pull the paddle back. Hadn't tried that yet in sport mode, but I'll tell you what, I am impressed overall with how this TLX drives and just everything about it. Really interesting.